And happy Thursday. Yes, I have filmed all of these videos on the same day. No, I have not worn the same outfit 3 days in a row, but if I did, I did. Today, we're going to finish talking about Ancient Greece, Section 1, Chapter 11. Ancient Greece. Right here. Should probably disinfect my globe. We're going to be starting on page 332 and working our way to page 333. If you do not have your textbook out at this time, get it out and make sure you open it up. Pause this video if you need to get your textbook. Do you have it? Do you? If you have it, is it open to page 332? All right. Yesterday we talked about the alliance that Athens made with other city-states. Do you remember the name of this alliance? I do. What is it, Jennifer? It's the Delian League. Correct. If you are also right if you said the Delian League. Sparta also made an alliance with other city-states. Do you remember the name of this league? That's right. It's the Peloponnesian League. We last left off yesterday talking about how these two leagues were bracing for war with one another after Athens refused to trade with a Peloponnesian League city-state. Today we'll be talking about the Peloponnesian War, or the war that broke out in 431 BC. Remember, both sides assumed that this war would be fairly quick and over fast. However, the war ended up lasting on and off for about 27 years. The start of the war began when an army led by Sparta marched into Athenian territory. Pericles, who was the leader of Athens during this time, told farmers to move inside the walled city for safety. Yes, this is still the same guy from chapter 10, my story, with the dog when he was a kid. Sparta, the Spartan soldiers, reaches Athens and surrounds Athens. They call this a siege. A siege is a military tactic when an army surrounds an area, be it a city-state or a town, and it cuts them off from resources like food that are very important to them. It traps them inside. You usually don't just surround the enemy's army, but the area where they're staying. And sieges are so powerful because they don't just impact soldiers, but people also living in the area that is being surrounded. And Sparta wanted to force Athens to surrender by starving its people. They would either die or surrender. Athens, however, saw this coming. A siege is a very popular military tactic, and this isn't the only time it's been used. In American history, actually, in the Civil War, the North used the concept of a siege at the town called Vicksburg in Mississippi. You'll learn about it in American history. It was a very effective military tactic. However, Athens was prepared for a siege. Athens had built 2 long walls to line this 4-mile road that connected Athens to a port near water. Remember, Athens has a powerful navy. Using this navy, they were able to bring supplies in to reach Athens by water. This helped them stay surrounded by Sparta in Athens for over a year. Unfortunately, just like now, but worse because medical care was not so great in ancient Greece compared to today, a contagious disease broke out in Athens. No, it wasn't the coronavirus. But 1/3 of the population died from this disease that historians say might have been typhus or smallpox, diseases that aren't really around today in America. People that were sick had convulsions, blisters, ulcers, internal problems, and were very thirsty. One of the ways it got people so sick was because everyone was very crowded together inside the city walls. This let disease travel. This is one of the reasons why we're all being apart from one another now. Disease can spread very fast in close groups of people. However, in Athens, since they're being surrounded by Sparta at this time, the Spartan army, they were not allowed to social distance like we can. Sparta eventually left the area. Excuse me. Oh! Sparta eventually left the area around Athens to prevent themselves from catching the disease as well. This was viewed as a plague in Athens. The war still continued after the plague, and it was hard for Athens or Sparta to get the upper hand. Athens used their powerful navy and ships to attack cities, and when it seemed like they were going to win, Sparta would win at the last second and save themselves from ending the war, and save them from defeat. In 421 BC, both sides agreed to stop fighting while they were discussing peace. However, after a few years, Athens invaded Sicily, an area that was allied with Sparta. With Sparta's help, the Athenian forces were destroyed, and a large part of the navy was lost at a place called Syracuse. There's a place in New York that has the same name, but they didn't fight this in New York. Athens is very weak at this point, and Persia is noticing. I haven't mentioned Persia today, but that doesn't mean that they weren't around paying attention to things that were going around. On Greece, they were there this whole time, watching, waiting, wanting revenge. So Persia decides to give money to Sparta to help Sparta have a powerful navy themselves. With its new fleet, Sparta defeats the Athenian navy at the Battle of Egis in 404 BC, before going after Athens itself. Athens tried to fight back, but they were blocked from their own food supply and began to starve. They had no choice but to surrender. They had to tear down the long walls that they used to let them bring in supplies. Athens lost its power, and Athens temporarily lost its democracy. If you look at the map at the top of page 332, I'm going to look there myself. You can see each league, the Delian League and the Peloponnesian League, and the area they covered in Greece. Sparta and the Peloponnesian League are the green color, while the Delian League allies are orange and Athens Empire is yellow. This map also shows you where Egis is. Locate it on your map. Egis, which I might be saying wrong, is spelled Aegospotami. Do you see it? It has a red firecracker next to it, which according to the map key says that that is the site of a battle. And it was. This is where the Spartan navy defeated Athens toward the end of the Peloponnesian War. Yesterday, we talked about how Athens had a lot of friends that were near this area because it wanted to protect their grain supply. On the map, you can see a blue line that shows the route that Athenian ships would have traveled for their grain from the Black Sea all the way to Athens. We see that Egis interrupts where they might have traveled in order to get to Athens. By winning a victory here, Sparta was able to close off a very important way of getting food into Athens. This left Athens with either two choices: starve or surrender. And if you surrender, at least you have a chance at living. So guess what? They surrendered. All in all, the Peloponnesian War hurt all of the city-states. Thousands of Greeks died, cities were destroyed, governments fell, and trade suffered. The Peloponnesian War also didn't end the fighting of the city-states against one another. They would still continue fighting against each other, all while Macedonia, also found on page 332 in green, all while Macedonia is growing more and more powerful. But that's a story for another time. And that's it for section 1. Take this time to read the section that we covered today independently. We read through page 332 to page 333. After, you should be able to answer question 12 on the homework sheet. This sheet is expected to be finished by this Friday, tomorrow at midnight. If you are confused by any of the questions, I suggest you reread this chapter or rewatch any of the videos from this week. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have still any more questions, please email me. I hope you've enjoyed learning about these 3 wars in ancient Greece's history. Hopefully you learned something new. I know I did. Tomorrow, you're going to be doing a simulation on Google Classroom where you will get to make choices about what you would do in situations that people in Greece faced. Once again, make sure you're accessing these videos the first time you watch them from Google Classroom instead of just going to my YouTube channel. This way you can turn in and submit the video to show me that you watched it and are following along at home. I hope you're staying safe and I hope you're staying healthy. Don't hesitate to email me if you have ways that I can pray for you. I'll see you next week. Goodbye. Goodbye.